Hello everyone, and thanks for coming back to the channel. This is the Jumper T12. This is a multi-protocol radio due to this 4-in-1 module right back here. You can see the modules listed right here across the back. These are the modules. We've been using these for a couple of years, I do believe. The nice thing is if those modules were to change, like maybe they came out with a more powerful one or something of that nature, in this particular radio you would just have to unplug this and plug a new one in. So if that were to happen, that could be a bonus. If you do choose to remove this, it just has these pressure clips on the side, then you pull it out. You can also see here at the top we have a removable antenna, so that is good for packing, and then you'll have your bar there for carrying. Also, we have these little nubbins in the back. Those are good for gripping your fingers around. I'm a pincher, so if you're a thumber you might use them differently, but I would think you would have, if you're a thumber you generally have more hand behind it. I'm a pincher, so I'm kind of just holding with two fingers, generally my ring finger and my pinky, and I fly like this. Right off the bat, there's one thing that we should talk about, is there is a little bit of a switch positioning issue with these two switches right here if you are a pincher. If you're a thumber, you're going to be able to reach all four corners just fine. But if you use one of these switches to arm, if you go full throttle when you're pinching, you do hit them. So that is an issue that I've had since they reshaped the Jumper. Matter of fact, the yellow one, which was a pro version, I actually sold that one because I barely used it because I was too concerned about hitting my arm switch. The T8SG was nice and square, so these position switches were actually higher, and so they kept it free from trouble. But with all that aside, you do have M9 Hall sensor gimbals. You're running OpenTX. OpenTX is supporting multiple protocols. You want to make sure right away you go out and you check your version that's on yours against what's available from the OpenTX website. Another improvement over the past ones I've seen is these buttons feel much more tactile. Specifically, my T8SG is, it just doesn't respond sometimes to the button clicks. So that's something that I think they've improved upon finally. And of course we have our trims. As far as how the gimbals feel, they do feel smooth. I think these are ones I can actually feel a difference. Typically I'm a little bit indifferent when it comes to radios and the stick feel. One of the things I do look for is how heavy is the centering. Sometimes you'll find that you'll have centering on both sticks. This one does not. There is no centering on the left stick, which is mode 2 for throttle and yaw. In this case there's only centering here on the right, and it's not too heavy, and the reason why I look for that is I use high rates, so my movements are generally around center unless I am doing something a little bit more extreme. And so that notch, if it's too heavy, I feel like I get trapped on the edge or I get trapped inside, or it tends to make the flight a little less smooth than I can traditionally make it. So let's go through the switches. We have two position switches up here at the top. We have these turn dials over here on the side. These do not have centering on the turn dials if you're looking for that. 3 position switches all the way around on the front. So all sorts of switches, and it is a 16-channel remote. Depending upon your receiver that you're running, you may be able to use all 16 channels. Also at the bottom here, I should have shown you this already, have a little battery bay. It is a nice big battery bay. If you can't see down there in the dark, it goes edge to edge down there, and it is quite thick. You could get some pretty good sized batteries, and we also have a micro SD card slot for storage down there. You'll note that the balance lead is what it's looking for, so that does limit you to running a 2S battery. The screen is a little bit of a magnet. In the short time I have had the protective cover off, you can probably pick up a number of different fingerprints that I've gotten on there, and I just took that off minutes before recording this video. So we're going to do a couple of things here just to kind of give you a sense of what the radio is like. And one of the reasons I think someone might choose this is, well, one, if you just want a smaller radio, maybe you've got something that you've been using for a while and you just don't feel like it packs very well, or it's just too big in nature for whatever reason. These are smaller by a fairly substantial amount than most other radios outside of the Devo 7E. The 7E is about the same size as this one. Another reason you might choose to go to the Jumper series and the multi-protocol is if, say, if you're flying a particular protocol of receiver and you want to move away from that, but yet you don't want to lose all the investment that you've made in past receivers by just ditching them. Something like this, say if you're going from Futaba or FlySky, or you're going from Spectrum and you want to do more of some other protocol, whether it's one of those I've already mentioned or FrSky, this can kind of bleed you over so you don't lose that receiver investment. But Also, when you're purchasing radios, it's very important to make sure that you're very comfortable with your purchase, because it is something that you're going to use with each and every quad. There's a few things in this hobby that we reuse. We mainly kill stuff, but we reuse our radios, we reuse our goggles, and we reuse our battery chargers. Those are the three things that we do reuse. So if someone asks me about where they need to spend their money, it's going to be one of those three things. So I've got two receivers over here. I've got a Lemon RX that's running DSM-X, and I've got an FrSky, not a Plus. I've got it wired up to a USB controller. This little thingy doodad here on the bottom of this, this puts these satellites into bind mode. You don't even have to press the button. As soon as you plug in USB, it'll put it into bind mode. So you can bind these up quite readily. It's relatively simple. Also, the multi-protocol module inside supports far more than I'm going to cover. It's going to cover hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of different models and protocol. Many of them are designed for more of that retail toy quad sort of genre. You have everything from Walkera to the Bang Toys, you have SEMA, you have all these different ones in there, and we'll take a quick peek at those. But if you're wondering if this one will bind with one of those, you'll need to check the list and the link down in the description to see if your machine is listed in that list to make sure it's compatible with one of these protocols. We have a digital button here on the front. That seems to be the way of most current radios, and we press and hold that down just like on traditional FrSky radios, because they are also running OpenTX for the most part. Got some switch warnings. Let's see, move everything up. Okay, we're fine. Now, another thing people might ask is about range. Range is going to really vary. It's going to depend upon your environment quite a bit. In my flying environment, I didn't have any problems circling my house with this, or any of the others really for that matter. There is an advantage of running Deviation TX, because it does allow you to pump up the milliwatts that the radio is running at, supposedly, according to the software, to 150 milliwatt. I believe by default, OpenTX, it's just standard, so I believe it's just 100 milliwatt. So that's something to consider as well when you're talking about these radios. Different firmwares allow you to do different things, and they do things differently. So we've got our default model here, which I didn't bother to name. If I press that button, we go into our model page. If I press the right button, we go into page 1. I'm going to go up to go back to the bottom of the list where we get into the binding section. So you can see the different protocols. Hopefully you can see those right there. I have a difficult time. Let me hit enter on this, and then we can go through them a little bit, and you can get a look for all the different protocols this does bind to. And you'll hear the beeps because sometimes it goes into auto bind mode on some of these different protocols. Okay, we got to the bottom of that list. Let's go up, see if I can find my spot again. Here's the SEMA one I mentioned, WL Toys, DSM-X, FrSky, Hubsan FlySky. Okay, so we're going to go back down to FrSky. We're going to go down to bind. First thing I need to do is I need to plug this into USB and press this little button on the receiver so I get this into bind mode. Hopefully you can see that red and green light on the receiver. That means the receiver is in bind mode. Going to lay this here hopefully so you can see it. I'm going to bring the radio up relatively close, see if it blows out my camera here a little bit. Alright, so I've got the focus down here, so we're going to go to bind. I'm going to hit enter. See it blinking over there? Means it's binding up. Generally you can just wait a few seconds and it will take care of itself. There we go, the radio stopped. Now we unplug and replug. I'm not sure what that light, there you go, you can see the green light now, right? So we're bound. Just a little proof of concept. Let's go ahead and jump into the DSM-X. I'm going to select my DSM-X protocol. It's actually a DSM on this one. Do I need to go up or down? I forget. Yep, I need to go down. There it is, DSM, and then you see down here we have a subtype. That's important as well, so we need to go down to the subtype. And I'm going to switch it out for the DSM-X 11 milliseconds, which is the faster protocol. So I've got that all set to bind. I'm going to plug this in. It'll put this into bind mode. See, we're flashing quickly. That's an indicator of our satellite being in bind mode. Activate the screen here, see if I can get the camera to focus again, and then we're going to bind. Hopefully you saw the light go off and back on. Now it's solid and we're all bound up. So that's just a short little demonstration of the multi-protocol use that we do have in the back. Also, do note that the mini USB port here on the top, so you can upgrade your OpenTX. We also have another jack here on the side. I believe that's a trainer jack if I'm not mistaken. And then on the back we also have, I'm not sure what this dial does, but I wouldn't fuss with it. I think it might have something to do with additional protocols or fine-tuning those things. The bind button you really don't need. The software on the other side activates it, but you do have the ability to update the modules inside here with a mini USB plug. Also, the plastic isn't necessarily slick, but you may find, especially in those warmer months, or if you're someone whose hands get a little bit sweaty or slick, that you may find that you need a little bit of neoprene wrapped around the side. I bought a giant roll of neoprene wrap off of Amazon. I can't even get it all on screen. This is ridiculous. So this is like, I unfortunately wasn't paying very close attention. So the yellow side is the sticky side. You peel that paper off and then you stick it on there. But this is 1/16, so it's real thin, and I find it does stick very good to radios. So I tend to just cut out little bits, and then I'll stick it on my radio in the spots that I feel it necessary, usually along the side and a little bit around the back, and that helps to make sure it stays secure in my hand. You may want to look for something like that. It doesn't seem like too many radios are using any sort of rubber on their in their manufacturing process anymore to help our grip. So it's one of those things we're going to have to do in order to make it more comfortable and more secure for us. Here's a quick look at the label. If you want to just search around, maybe you can find a good buy on eBay or something of that nature. I'll find it and then link it down below, but you don't need to buy a giant roll like I did. You know, I'll find the smallest roll I can in the same dimensions and the same stuff, and link it down below, because I do like this stuff. I just have a ridiculous amount of it. So this radio seems to be a little bit hard to get to. I did some Google searching around and I couldn't find the black one. I couldn't find it anywhere I was doing my looking. I know that HobbyMate is the primary seller. I think they're selling a lot on Amazon, but I think you're going to have to look around a little bit. I'll put links down below to where I can find them. I think Hobby Cool might have been another website that was carrying them, but it's just hard to find the black one. They're all the tan or the taupe color, and I actually kind of like that color. It looks kind of smart. But if you're wanting the black one, that might be difficult to come by. So just a little word of warning, if you go to the link down below and you say, hey, it's not the black one, I'm told, and it looks like that the taupe or white colored one is the same as this one. It's just they changed the color scheme after they sent it to me, maybe? I don't know. They didn't comment on that question. It was, why no black ones anymore? Maybe they had a limited run of black ones. Maybe they're special edition. There we go. I can claim I have a special edition. Anyways, if you have any comments or questions about this, I know this is a fairly brief radio video. I'll do my best to answer them in the section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.